Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Ty Lee and Bowden Blake. No Jameson today. He opted out of this one, which is it's sad to see. Nobody cares about the Bulls anymore. We have Jameson opting out now. Oh, the state of affairs. It's tragic, but this is the start of a three-part bowl preview series. We're going to be breaking down the bowls week by week instead of in a massive chunk. We're starting with the basically the bowl games in weird places named after holding companies you've never heard of. So I'm excited for it, and it's always a good way to just start with the crumbs. But before we kick off with the bowls, I wanted to ask Ty, Army Navy, quick thoughts on how that went down.
Tough loss for my midshipmen. I felt like the game was really in hand. I mean, you go look at the stats, make that whole argument. First overtime ever in Army Navy history. It was a super cool game, super competitive game. Army's uniforms, the color on the field looked a lot more Army. They didn't look as Oregon as we had sort of guessed on the podcast, but I know it was rough a little bit throughout the middle of the game, but if you watched, you actually got to see a really good college football game. I mean, it went to overtime, a competitive overtime, which that's like a game that everyone is turning on regardless. So super exciting game, crushed how it ended up. And then obviously Navy parting ways with longtime head coach Ken Niumatalolo. Bittersweet to see him go. But Navy has been pretty disappointing in recent memory. I know we did a whole bit on how it's just really hard at service academies, but Army and Air Force have been doing a lot better than Navy has recently. So hopefully people have their opinions about Navy's athletic director. That's for a different time. But hopefully we will get someone and move in the right direction. I haven't been following up on it, but I've been seeing some interesting landing spots for Ken. Ken, keep in mind, is kind of an upset master at Navy. I've been seeing Georgia Tech, the Scrappy Dogs, potentially in contention for hiring him, which I think would be hilarious because he is Navy came off of a great upset against UCF 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. They had a bye week. He is an upset master, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I saw some other chatter saying Purdue. I don't think that's likely, but that would maybe be funny too. But yeah, he'll land somewhere. He had a good tenure. Bittersweet to see him go, and of course, bittersweet to see how the game turned out. But it was fun.
We need triple option Purdue. That sounds perfect, but gross. I love it. But Blake, I feel like this part of the bowl season, this early first week, is just made for you. It's Crumb City. You got these weird matchups, and I feel like are you excited about this?
Oh, I always get pumped up for bowl season. I will give a warning to people because I love college football. I love FBS G5. I love the crumbs, and so these bowl games are some of my favorites. But I will feel very confident about picks, and they will be ultimate slams of the year. I'm hitting my highest bets. Don't do that for bowl games. Bowl games are so fickle, and they are what make college football great because it's the ultimate spin zone whenever you lose a big bet in a bowl game or your team loses versus another one. You hear the narratives, we don't really care to be here, or we had X, Y, and Z players opted out. It's really college football fans in their bags trying to explain why this is a program win or a loss that doesn't matter at all. And that's what makes college football great, is because you're not really arguing about what's going on the field. You're just doing your spins and your takes off the field on why your team's better than somebody else, even when the results on the field don't show it. So that's what I love about the college bowl season. We got to see great ones last year where UCF beats Florida, and Florida fans are trying to disregard this as much as possible. UCF fans, as is tradition, and UCF fans probably hanging a banner for that, making some national championship rings, even if they're not undefeated. So I love bowl season, especially these early bowl games, so I'm excited to get talking about them, get some picks in.
Absolutely, I'm pumped. And look, if y'all want to play along with us, we got our bowl pool going. It is still live. That will be active until the first bowl game kicks off, so make sure to get in that. That link is in the description. Make sure to follow along with that, and we're giving away up to $150 in prizes. $100 to the winner, $25 to the second place, and $15 to third. and it's free to enter. So just hop in there, join. All you have to do is subscribe to actually win money. We will verify that. Yeah, hop on in there. We got a good pool going. It's exciting. And we're picking spreads just like we always do. Ty, question?
Yeah, for those listening, just to clarify, please join in if you so wish. You can make some picks. Just do it randomly, and you could get in. It does lock down. I just double checked. 10:30 a.m. Central Time on Friday the 16th looks like is when it will lock and no longer allow you to make picks. So if you join, I'm sure we'll put the thing somewhere, but that is your drop dead time for having joined and then locked in your picks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe the picks go game by game. So if something changes, you can make changes. But in terms of entry, that's when your drop dead spot is 10:30 on Friday. So anyways, without further ado, let's get on to it with the Bahamas Bowl, one of the best. For me, it's always going to be the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl. It makes me sad that it no longer is sponsored by Popeyes, but here we are anyways. The UAB Blazers favored by 11.5 against the Miami of Ohio. I believe they're the Red Hawks. So a classic matchup. People were hyped on the field. I know Miami of Ohio was celebrating this one, getting the bowl bid like they actually won a trophy, Blake, even though this goes to like the third place MAC team. Do you think that has any momentum for him? I'll let you kick us off here, Blake. Miami of Ohio or UAB, and do you think that kind of boost does anything for him?
I'm glad Miami of Ohio was happy to be here. I would be, like, of all the bowl games, if you're going to a low-tier bowl game, a free trip to the Bahamas sounds pretty nice, but I have to back the Blazers here. I think what's concerning to me, why I can't back Miami of Ohio, is Brett Gabbert, who I believe is Blaine Gabbert's brother. He was Miami of Ohio's quarterback. Has now entered the transfer portal, not going to play in the bowl game. That's a little concerning. That not having a starting quarterback and your MAC team versus a UAB team who they hired Trent Dilfer, but honestly, so many players wanted Bryant Vincent to stay and were writing letters to the to UAB itself, trying to keep Bryant Vincent as the head coach. It was unsuccessful, so I think these guys are going to be playing hard. I think there's a good motivational angle for UAB, a team that hasn't seen many people hit the transfer portal, hasn't seen really any opt-outs, so we're going to get a full-strength Blazers team. So even with the hefty 11.5-point spread, I'm taking the Blazers.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I am with Boat and Blake on this one. I like the UAB Blazers. It may become apparent what methodology is being used for picking these games later on. It's not just in line with the favorites, but I like the UAB Blazers in this one, minus 11.5, picking the spread on it.
Yeah, I like UAB as well. I obviously frustrating how the tenure of their coach ended, but having Dilfer come in, I think it's an exciting jolt to the program. And I think UAB has been a pretty solid team. So I think they cover 11.5. That line is a little much, makes me a little uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, I like UAB, the better team, to win. Next up, we have the Cure Bowl, the UTSA Roadrunners facing the Troy Trojans, who are favored by 2.5. This is a top 25 matchup, folks. Like, this is a big time game, and we're getting it on Friday. That's exciting. This one being played in Orlando at the MLS Stadium there. New move for this year. And it's benefiting breast cancer research, a really solid charity. I can't remember the name of it. I really should. So whoops. But I think this is a really good matchup, and I'm really excited to watch this. Two of the best group of 5 teams in the country. As we know, UTSA has been very solid. Troy also very solid. 2-11-2 teams. And I think this is as evenly matched as it gets. And with bowl games, always a crapshoot. I'm going to go with the team giving me points here. Give me UTSA plus 2.5. And that's not really a shade towards Troy. I think both of these teams, damn good, evenly matched. This is going to be a great game. But give me the points on this one. Meep, UTSA. Ty?
Let me just say a quick pitch for those that aren't watching on YouTube. Obviously, however you watch or listen, we very much do sincerely appreciate it. But Bobby has done a great breast cancer awareness graphic for this one. The UTSA Roadrunner with the pink background, I kind of like it. It's got something going for it. I like that branding there. I will be going with the Meep Meep, the Roadrunners as well in this one. So give me UTSA plus 2.5.
Like,
I'm going opposite. We talked about it kind of on our conference championship preview show. I love Troy. I think Troy's offense is really good. I think Troy's defense is excellent. Some of the best you're going to see in the group of five play. This is an awesome bowl match. And I know it's kind of weird because you're like, oh, Cure Bowl, it's the second bowl game of the year. You just think it's any other group of five team matchup. No, these two teams are fantastic. UTSA, high-powered offense. You got Frank Harris coming back for another year. The man, I think, started college in 2016 or 2017. So he started college while we were still there and is still playing. And I love his commitment to UTSA, but I just think Troy has something special going on in Alabama. So I'm going to take the minus 2.5, which is basically a pick 'em at this point. So I'm taking Troy. I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup.
I think that's fair. It's going to be an awesome game. Well, probably one of the best games of bowl season. So I'm pretty happy to get that early. Next, let's move on to a pretty awkward, pretty weird game across the board. It's the Fenway Bowl, featuring the Louisville Cardinal and the Cincinnati Bearcats at Fenway Park. This is the third annual Fenway Park game, but the first one that they've actually played because the previous two have been canceled because of COVID. This is also a battle for the Keg of Nails trophy, a rekindling of a rivalry that these two teams have had going back to the Big East days. And to add a little bit more spice into the rivalry, Cincinnati just hired Louisville's head coach away. So this one is as spicy as it gets. It's actually the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. I'm not even kidding you. That is actually the sponsor of it. Not the sauce, but some random company that I could not tell you what they do. Bearcats favored by 1.5 here. Basically a coin flip game. Blake, who do you like here?
This game is absolutely disgusting. Like it has the potential with the storylines. We know one team hired the other team's head coach away, but you dig into that storyline first. Scott Satterfield, Louisville fans hated him and wanted him gone so bad that honestly Cincinnati hiring him away is a godsend that they could then bring in Jeff Brom, who they originally wanted before they hired Satterfield in the first place. So even that, like, you look at that storyline, that kind of gets debunked like right off the bat. Then you look on who's even playing in this game. So Cincinnati has about, it seems like half their team in the transfer portal or opting out just because Luke Fickle left. Ben Bryant, who is their quarterback, really not that good. Like, Cincinnati would have been fantastic if they had average quarterback play this year, and they didn't. So Ben Bryant out for the season, and they're going to their backup. So automatically, I think Cincinnati gross can't back them. But then I look at Louisville. They lose their head coach, which I don't think really matters, but Louisville is driven by Malik Cunningham. He is opting out to go to the NFL draft, and I also think he hurt his shoulder in the game versus Kentucky, so he doesn't want to risk it. They have a whole bunch of opt-outs, a lot of running, like their whole running back stable, tight end, some corners. There's nobody playing in this game, but I have to back a team. I'm going Louisville. I just feel like the losses are a little bit less. Like, Malik Cunningham's huge, but I just feel like there's enough talent still kind of there that they can rope something together. Cincinnati's gutted. They've lost basically the coach that has taken them to the highest level. They have no quarterback. They have no any pieces around him. This is a gross game. Do not bet this. Like, if you are going to bet this, don't wager a lot of money on this because we don't know what the hell's going to happen. So give me the Cardinal, but I'm out. Like, I'm not, there's no way I bet this game. There's no way. This is gross.
So surely they give out the rivalry trophy too, in addition to the weird Fenway Bowl trophy, right?
They do. They have to. You have to.
Especially when it's something called the Keg of Nails. It's not something garbage like, what Penn State and Michigan State have. So you got to do it. Ty, your thoughts on the game? Who do you like here?
Yeah, first off, you've got to put up the belt every time
yeah.
you fight. That's everyone knows that. It's like when you have OU and Texas playing in the Big 12 championship, the Golden Hat's got to be up for grabs.
It wasn't.
It's a trophy. I know, and
But
I
it should have
disagree. I
been.
still disagree with that decision. You got to put up the belt every time you fight. So that's how I feel about that. Wasabi, the sponsor, we're not going to start denigrating sponsors. They've claimed to be an Amazon Web Services killer. I don't know about that one because what is Wasabi Cloud Services? No one knows. But yeah, in this one, I hate both of these teams. Cincinnati, obviously, known commuter school that just sort of didn't even do their own thing. They looked at what UCF was doing. UCF didn't even invent being the flashy group of 5 team that just makes BS claims and tries to convince people they're better than they are. But Cincy kind of looked at that and said, hey, it works for you at UCF. Let's be a group of 5 team with a group of 5 schedule. And let's try to just beat up on these teams, just win games we're supposed to win and convince people that we're better than we are. And then it worked for them. They made it to the playoffs. We all saw how that happened. So because of that, even though I also dislike Louisville, I don't know why, actually, but I also dislike Louisville, but it's the lesser of 2 evils here. Give me the Louisville Cardinals. I liked hearing what Blake was saying. I wasn't really listening, but it sounded bad for Cincinnati, and love me some Cincinnati Bearcats downfall. So give me the Louisville Cardinals.
Yeah, I think the stolen coach game element is something that is present for Louisville, and I think they come out and get a win here. Like Blake said, don't bet this one. It's a coin toss. If this was a confidence thing, this would be at the very, very bottom. It's going to be a total mess. But I have Louisville right now, just given all the storylines, everything going on. Next up, we have the Cricket Celebration Bowl between Jackson State and North Carolina Central. Never heard of that team until now. Jackson State favored by 16.5, even though Coach Prime is already in Boulder. I'll kick us off here. I am fading Jackson State. This is personal. It has nothing to do with Deion Sanders, but it has to do with how badly they screwed us in last year's Celebration Bowl. I don't know if y'all remember, we had them top of the list against North Carolina or South Carolina State. We thought they were going to kill them. It was an easy bet, an easy win in the bowl pick'ems, and they got blown off the field, embarrassed on national TV, and a loss that bad, that early, that completely screws everything up is something that I can never forget and I can never forgive. I don't care what the spread is. I was taking North Carolina Central no matter what, especially with no Coach Prime. This team is gutted. Everybody's portaling. They don't have what made them special this year anymore. So give me NCC to cover 16.5. Ty?
Yeah, I have. It's nothing personal, but I just don't see how. I understand Jackson State is on paper the better team. I don't see how they. I don't see how they carry it through. Even with Deion, I guess apparently coaching in this one. Source appears to be my mother, actually. But even with him coaching in this one, I don't see the effort from the. I understand, you can give that whole, he'll hype them up, one last ride, they'll be really good. I don't see it. I think people are looking for their exit options. I mean, I think you're at the point now in Jackson State where the boat is very obviously sinking, and you're trying to get everyone to finish the game of chess that you have going, and everyone really has their eye on it, like, hey, I should probably get in line for the lifeboat. Maybe I don't need to care about this chess game. So I have Jackson State to not cover in this one.
Blake?
I'm backing Coach Prime. I still believe there's enough talent there. Just the amount of talent he's brought to that school is just a night and day better than just about every other school that they play. And so I just gotta trust that talent comes through. Hopefully something like last year does not happen again. That's what I'm praying. I'm hoping he learns from his lesson. Really, when the spotlights are on him, he pulls through. I'm gonna take Jackson State.
Fair enough. Let's move on to our next game. It's the Las Vegas Bowl, a bowl that honestly needs a little bit more love, needs to be a little more elevated because It's a fun bowl game. This one's at the Big Roomba at Reliant Stadium, or not Reliant. I don't know what it's called, but it features two interesting teams, two teams that Blake, I feel like, has kind of liked: the Florida Gators and the Spooky Beavers of Oregon State, who are favored by 7.5. Blake, your thoughts on this game? I think this is a pretty wildly low line given Oregon State's ranking and maybe some opt-outs at Florida. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is one of those games, like I was talking about at the opening, that I would just traditionally slam for Oregon State. They have if you look at the rosters right now, they're just so much better. By the way, Oregon State finished their year getting that win at Oregon, comeback. They look spectacular. Their defense is clicking. Their offense is clicking. Really, everything is going right in Corvallis. And we talked about it, conference, like, the last week of the year, we loved Oregon State going into that. The Spooky Beavers really found a way to win a very impossible game. And you look at Florida. Florida has everybody opting out, and if they're not opting out, they're in the portal. They don't have a quarterback, really. Anthony Richardson has decided to opt out to go to the draft, which I am the biggest AR-15 Anthony Richardson stan on this podcast, maybe outside of the state of Florida. If you were going to do any move, go to a different school and just allow your talents to flourish. Why the hell are you going to the NFL? I know you're a very raw prospect, and that's the reason why I fell in love with Anthony Richardson, is just the potential is there, but Jesus, I don't think he's going to get drafted very high. You didn't put a lot on tape this year. When you lose your final games to Florida State and Vanderbilt, that's just such a bad look. I got to go Oregon State, and I feel like this is one that I overly bet, lose. Florida somehow keeps it close or wins, but I don't trust the quarterback room at Florida to get it done. They don't really have any more pieces. I just think Oregon State really has everything clicking right now. So give me the Spooky Beavs.
Ty?
Yeah, I like Oregon State. I feel like they have a lot to play for. I feel like they have a lot more buy-in from the players on the team. And when I heard that Anthony Richardson was opting out to prepare for the NFL, I actually had to look up what they meant by that, because I was like, certainly he doesn't think he's going to be drafted into the National Football League, but apparently he does. So we'll see how that pans out. But I did say something that Blake said certainly did catch my ear, and I know I'm going long here, but it's just hearing about a mediocre quarterback who thinks he can do better, losing his final game to Florida State. That sounds like something that will occur again in the future, perhaps.
Oh my God.
So with that, I yield my time to Bobby.
Yeah, I'm going Oregon State here. Like everyone mentioned, the opt-in is there for Oregon State. I think they're a better team. I think they're going to go in and definitely beat Florida. We've seen Florida teams just not care about bowls like this, and this will be no exception, I don't think. So give me Oregon State minus 7.5. Next, we have the Jimmy Kimmel Los Angeles Bowl, featuring the Washington State Cougars, favored by 4.5 against the Fresno State Bulldogs. Now, looking at this one, I gotta say, I've been burnt on Washington State in the past. Hand up, that's happened. But you know who hasn't burnt me? The Fresno State Bulldogs, who pulled through and won the Mountain West, saved me from the 999 punishment almost single-handedly. I think that actually was the game that saved me, was that decision to back Jake Haener and the Bulldogs. So I'm going to back him again. Give me Fresno State plus 4.5 in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. Plus, I feel like in the LA Bowl, you tend to have good Mountain West performances against Pac-12 teams. Ty?
Yeah, I also like Fresno State in this one. It appears that most people do. Looking at ESPN is telling me that 62% of pickers have gone with Fresno State to cover with 4.5. They're not even favorites to win this one. I think Fresno State outright is what I like in this one. But who knows? Like we talked about in bowl games, no one really knows. Certainly not I.
Blake?
Yeah, I'm going with Fresno State. That Fresno State Boise State battle were two teams that kind of had a rough start to the season, but really pulled it together at the end of the season. And I think Washington State's a solid side. I think Cam Ward's a great quarterback, and really they had some excellent games this season, but they do have some transfer portal guys that are really key. So Stribling and Ollie, who are their two top receivers, are both in the portal. So Cam Ward is basically going to be throwing to nobody. We haven't seen anybody enter the portal or opt out on the Fresno side. I think they're a little bit more motivated with a P5 opponent that I just have to side with Fresno. I think Jake Hayner puts on one last stunning performance and is going to probably get drafted in the next few months. So give me the Bulldogs.
I gotta say, Blake, before we move on, is the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl the most disgusting use of the Mouse's IP that we've seen out of ESPN recently?
It's pretty bad that they make a mockery of our sport and try to do whatever stunts or whatever they did last year. They're pieing people all over the place. It kind of looked like the Nickelodeon game, but a lot worse and not as good. Like, at least Nickelodeon can nail that cheesiness, but of course ESPN, ABC, Disney don't have that same taste, don't really know the culture as well. So this game's gonna be filled with a whole bunch of dumb stunts by a late night host that nobody ever watches because nobody really watches late night shows anymore. So it's just going to be one big ad. It's going to suck, especially since I think this is going to be a great game to watch. But that's kind of what you get from Disney these days.
There you go. There you go. Noted. I had to give Blake some time to hate on Disney, ESPN, etc., as is tradition. Moving on to our next game, we are cruising through this. We have the Lending Tree Bowl. Southern Miss favored by 4.5 against Rice. I'm not. There's a Brett Favre joke in here somewhere, and I'm not going to make it. Blake, kick us off here. Who do you like in this game?
Yep, this one was pretty easy for me. Southern Miss. Southern Miss has covered, I think, 5 of the last 6 games. Like, they've been incredibly hot against the spread. Rice only got into a bowl game because they're smart, and their quarterback room, I don't think Rice's quarterbacks are very good in the first place, but they've had a lot of injury issues. We don't really know who's the starter coming out of that, for this game. They lost 4 of the final 5 games, so they positioned themselves great at the beginning of the season. Couldn't close to end the season. They just needed one game to actually stamp their ticket, but academics mean something still in college sports, and that's what gets a 5-7 team in whenever they don't have enough 6-6 teams. So give me Southern Miss. I just don't think Rice is very good.
Ty?
Let me tell y'all something about Southern Miss. And I'm saying this from experience. I've been to Southern Miss home games, actually. Fun fact. In fact, I most notably, I went to a Southern Miss home game against UAB before UAB was disbanded, which is very, very meta. But Southern Miss is the UNT of the South. Even people that go there, and people in Mississippi love college football. Even people that go to Southern Miss are not Southern Miss fans. Everyone that I think of that I can remember that went to Southern Miss, or people who were sort of like aligned with Southern Miss, were all fans of other teams. Like they were LSU fans, or they were Bama fans, or whatever. And this was before those teams were even good. No one. It's the UNT. But I have to go with my Southern Miss Eagles to the top. That's their cheer. I know that. But I think they have it against Rice. I just wanted to share that little personal connection to Southern Miss.
Nice little anecdote, if you will. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with Southern Miss as well. They've been very, very sneaky good. They beat Tulane this year, one of the few teams to do that. I think that's something to say about them. And Rice, like Blake said, only reason they're there is because they're nerds. So let's move on to the next one. We've got the New Mexico Bowl featuring the SMU Mustangs against BYU. SMU favored by 2.5 here. This is tricky, but I'm going to go with SMU. I feel like they've kind of finished the season a little bit stronger than BYU, who has been kind of all over the place. It will basically be a BYU home game, but I don't think that matters that much. Give me SMU minus 2.5. Ty?
Yeah, I got to go with my man Tanner Mordecai. Shout out to We once had a great thing. We once had a great partnership. Tanner Mordecai and Austin Stogner now returning to OU, and we learned to code together, and I have to ride with him in this game against BYU. I really think that on paper, I'm surprised that SMU is favored in this one, but I like the Ponies to take the win and win it by 250 at least.
Like,
I'm gonna go opposite. I think this game's gross, but I will take our future conference mates in the BYU Cougars. This game's weird. So SMU, Rashee Rice is opting out of this bowl game to prepare for the NFL draft, which makes sense because Rashee Rice is their like only receiver. He's a playmaker, kind of like Quentin Johnson style, but just on the G5 level. He's fantastic. Like he's a excellent receiver. When TCU played him this year, he presented a lot of problems, even for a team which we have the best corner in America and then another All-American corner as well. So that's a big blow for me in SMU's mind. But if you look at BYU, Jaren Hall supposedly, it's been really weird. He's injured, but they want him to play, but he's not really like practicing all that much. The articles I've been reading about him have just been kind of all over the place. Like they just don't understand why he's not trying to play, and he's just kind of like he's not preparing for the draft. He's not opting out, not entering the transfer portal. He's just kind of not playing, and so that like concerns me. But both these teams' defenses suck, and so I'm like, if Jaren Hall plays, I think they're just slightly better than SMU when it comes to offense, with Rashee Rice being out. But this one is like just kind of bet the over and just sit back and relax, because I think even with some of their weapons out, like these defenses can't stop anything.
yeah, this does feel like a fun over game for sure. For sure. Let's move on to our next game, the Frisco Bowl, between the North Texas Mean Green, whose logo I made way too large on this graphic, and the Boise State Broncos, who are favored by 4.5. Blake, take us away.
I think this is one of the easier ones on the slate. It's the Broncos. I know recency bias maybe, losing to Fresno State at home for the conference championship, but Fresno State's a pretty good team. And Boise State, as we saw kind of finishing the season, and mentioned earlier, covered 7 of their last 8 games. Like, they were fantastic down the stretch after they fired their OC, after Hank Bachmeier like kind of joined his OC in the transfer portal. Like he was one of those guys that entered in like week 3, week 4, and they've been fantastic since. And North Texas, Seth Luttrell gone, interim coach. I don't know what the future of that program is. Like I think Seth Luttrell for CUSA, or I guess it's gonna be American. It's a pretty good coach, but it's so funny. I read this like Austin Aune, or whoever their quarterback is, the 29-year-old, he decided he is not going to opt out of this game. He's going to play it and then enter the draft after. No man, my man, no way this man gets drafted. And if he does, I wanted this with Brandon Weeden. I wanted an NFL quarterback so old that after their rookie deal, even if they lit the league on fire, nobody wants to sign him because they're like, you were out of your prime. Like, you were actually, we have empirical evidence that you were so old that there's like no way you could still possibly in your prime and just never get signed again. So I'm kind of hoping for a similar arc with them, but I just think Boise State's the significantly better team.
That was a good segue. I have UNT. Why? Because of my 30-year-old man, Austin On. He has a full-on family. Like, he has children, and he's had a full career before. Like, he's literally playing to have fun at this point. I guess he declared for the draft. I mean, go and chase that money whenever you can. My man had an entire career in baseball, which is the reason why he's now playing college football at 29, 30 years old, whatever. Yeah, I think if you really look at it, UNT in a bad situation. I do not like a fired head coach situation. But I think UNT maybe made a pretty decent hire with Eric Morris, who was previously the offensive coordinator at Washington State. And I'm looking it up right now. It looks like he played actually was a receiver for Texas Tech from '04 to '08. So he certainly has some offensive credibility, and then heavy ties to Mike Leach, who we would be remiss if we did not mention, and we were going to mention him later in the podcast, who tragically passed away. But I like UNT in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. We definitely want to do something to kind of go more in depth on that, either in this pod or when Mississippi State comes up, or its own thing. But just truly tragic passing. So that sucks. But I will say, to kind of change the mood a little bit, the new North Texas hire was nicknamed the Elf by Mike Leach. So that's pretty fun. Look, as much as I would like to pick the quarterback who's the same age as Trevor Knight, I'm going to go with Boise State in this one. 4.5, way too low. I think UNT gets pounded here, even though it's kind of close to home, all that good stuff. But no, give me Boise. So let's move on to our next game. Kind of fun. I feel like the line's a little too big. The Marshall Thundering Herd, favored by 12.5, against a resurgent UConn team who has made it back to the bowls under Jim Mora in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, which is always my favorite bowl because it's the one that Ty complains about because of the field, which I will let him talk about that some more. I'm going to go with the Sad Huskies here to cover 12.5. I think what Mora has done at UConn this year has been nothing short of incredible. He's gotten this program back to life when it has been completely dead in the water. And I don't know. I think they give the Thundering Herd a good fight here and get the cover. Ty?
I loathe everything about Myrtle Beach. I really do. The East Coast is so beautiful, and so much of it is just developed just enough. Like Eastern North Carolina, where I lived for several years, South Carolina, all of that, and then just right in the middle of it, there's Myrtle Beach, which is just like I don't even know what to compare. It's like if you took more Oklahoma and made it a consumerist beach town, that's what it would be. And then their field is like what I don't know if either of you guys have been to Myrtle Beach,
No.
but I have. I lived about an hour and a half north, I guess, for a couple years. It's not good. It's like on paper, it's like the beach towns on like the Gulf. Like Orange Beach, Destin, PCB, all that stuff,
Yeah.
but it's not in execution, not there at all. I like Marshall in this one. It's not even relevant. I like Marshall in this one. You know what? No, belay that. I like UConn in this one because I like the resurgence. I think they were winless like a year and a half ago, or I guess 2 seasons ago, something like that. So I really like. No, Ocean City is markedly better than Myrtle Beach. 1,000%. Not to start an argument with the people in the chat, but it's like indescribable how much better literally any other beach town in the world. Normandy Beach in 1944 would be a better tourist place than Myrtle Beach anytime ever. And legally, I can say that as a veteran, as a subject matter expert on amphibious operations, I can say that. So you've got to cut me off. Blake,
no, why would I ever cut you off? This has been that was incredible. Talking beaches with Ty, I love it. Oh my God.
I will take all the more slander. Like, and that's one thing I miss about living in Oklahoma. It's just a good old fashioned Moore joke. I kind of want to visit Myrtle Beach now just to see the similarities because I do believe Ty. Like, I think Moore, Oklahoma would be one of the worst places to live. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I drive through there, it's bad. It's a suburb that tries to have character with the theater, but the theater's just really big, and that's all it is. It's nothing different. Like, it's not a special movie theater. It's
it kind of sucks now. Like not to disparage. They're not going to sponsor us. The Warren Theater kind of sucks now. Like, it changed ownership, and it's like kind of dirty. It's just not. It's not what it used to be. So now Moore doesn't even have that.
Moore has a Toby Keith's restaurant now, though. Very
That's
nice.
true,
I'm gonna have
but
to try it out.
so does downtown Oklahoma City, right? It's still there.
OKC has like a real one. Moore has like it's like an
The
old
offshoot.
Applebee's building.
I'm pretty, yeah, it's
I don't
right in front of
really-
the Warren.
I don't want to fully slander Moore. What Moore does have, and I will for the rest of my life, I will give free ads to Slotsky's sandwiches. Moore still has one, Norman does not. So I drive up to Moore to get Slotsky's all the time. They will get a free ad from me always because they are amazing.
I agree
didn't know
with
you were a
Ty.
big Schlotsky's guy.
I agree with Ty. Schlotsky's is out of the chain sandwiches is like by far the best. By far the best.
Ooh. I might need to go back to it. Might have to check that out. Blake, did we ever get your pick for this one?
No, but Ty's analysis was so great. Give me the Sad Huskies. We needed it. It's always the Sad Huskies. 6-6 is an incredible season for them. Too many points. Give me the Sad Huskies.
Love it. Love it. Moving on to our next game. It's the famous Idaho Potato Bowl between Eastern Michigan and San Jose State, who are favored by Tree Fitty. Our boy Spuddy will be on the sideline. This is always one of my favorite bowls, just because of how weird it is. Yeah. So Blake, who do you like here? Do you like EMU or do you like San Jose State here? I know you picked them a lot in the weekend spread.
Yeah, I'm going with EMU. I'm so tired of San Jose State. They were kind of my champion to beat out the devil in the city that we call San Diego, and they just did not make it happen. They cashed my win total, but barely in the final week. I did not like that performance. I thought they were going to be so much better, and this is pure spite. Like, they could honestly still be better than EMU. Like, MAC teams probably aren't that good, but like, I thought that we could get rid of that evil school down near the California-Mexico border and wipe them away, and the Spartans didn't do it, so I am not a fan of them anymore. I'm going to take the Eagles. I think they are solid. The Spartans are dead to me, so give me EMU.
It's the meme of Andy dropping Woody and like on the ground and saying, "I don't want to play with you anymore." That is Blake with San Jose State right now.
They were my chosen one. It's literally every single year I have somebody in the MAC that I get super hype about that can't beat San Diego City University. Last year was Nevada with like their juggernaut roster. Somehow couldn't do it. The Mountain West is a very sacred division in my heart, and San Jose State couldn't do it. We're going to find a new team next year to really capitalize.
Well, I am waiting on pins and needles to see who takes up the mantle. Ty, who do you like here?
Yeah, so this one, the calculus is very easy if you're in tune with current events, as I am. So this game is being played where Idaho, I think, I've never been, but from what I know, they have gorgeous scenery and potatoes. And
it's fantastic.
Like, what more do you want? Yeah, I desperately want to go to Idaho because I love potatoes. I had 2 meals today, both of which contained 2 different types of potatoes. That's 4 different potatoes eaten. I mean, it was just 2 potatoes, but 4 different ways, all in 24 hours. Not uncommon. I love potatoes. But what do we know about Idaho? I don't know. So I talked to someone not pertaining to this bowl game, but just recently I was talking to a friend of mine who is from Idaho. And it's much like other places. What is it filled with? People from California. So naturally, I think that San Jose would have an advantage, basically being a home game played in Idaho. I've never heard of someone moving from Michigan to Idaho. I think they just sort of stay where they are when they're in Michigan. So I like San Jose in this one. Might not make sense, but I think home field advantage. Give me the Spartans minus Tree Fitty.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's a coin flip for me, but in these situations, we take the points. So I'm going to go EMU. Those weird wall breaking down people with the gray field. Look, they're used to playing on weirdly colored fields. So there you go. I guess that works for him. So I'm going to go EMU here, based on literally no logic other than I just kind of wanted to roll with them. But no, I will say if the Schooner Pod ever had a bowl, I think we would have to play it at the Kibbe Dome in Idaho, in Moscow, Idaho, That seems like a good schooner pod like location for us. Either like that one or the one stadium. I think it's Colorado School of Mines where like people watch it from like the mountain. There's also a random one in South Dakota School of Mines, I think, where it's a drive-in stadium. Either one of those seem like big schooner pod places. Anyways,
We do need to drop on the Schooner Pod social the Kibby Dome hype video that was released earlier this year, showing why the Kibby Dome's the best. It is electric. It's fantastic.
Idaho intentionally relegating themselves to FCS is genuinely hilarious, and we have not talked about it enough on the podcast because that is really funny. They're just like, nah, we're good, and bump down. Like, it's just hilarious to me. All right, let's move on to our next game. It's the Boca Raton Bowl featuring the Toledo Rockets, who are favored by 1.5, against the Liberty Flames, who have lost Hugh Freeze because he is he's now Auburn's head coach for some reason. And you know, kind of in a similar way to how I faded Jackson State, you know, probably a little bit wrong because of Coach Prime still coaching. I don't think Liberty has a lot to play for here. So I'm going to go with Toledo minus 1.5. The Rockets did really good to win the MAC. I was very impressed with that. So I think they keep it up and get a big win in Boca Raton. Ty, who do you like?
Yeah, I like. Shout out to Hugh Freeze. We are an advertiser-friendly podcast, so as far as I will go with this, but the controversy that got Hugh Freeze fired from Ole Miss did in fact occur in Alabama. So very funny that he's now going to Auburn. I like the Toledo Rockets in this one. If it hasn't been apparent, I've been picking just off branding this entire time, and I love that Toledo. They're the Rockets. They have a fun, it's like Pizza Planet, not to give Disney a shout out. I'm going to rile Blake up, but it's like a Pizza Planet from Toy Story style branding, or maybe it's Planet Pizza, one of those. One of them is in Norman, right. One of them is in Toy Story, something like, or Pizza Shuttle maybe is the one in Norman. I don't know.
Correct.
I would love if they sponsored the podcast. Give me the Toledo Rockets minus 1.5.
My favorite thing about Toledo is that they have an actual rocket that is like calculated to hit the middle, like the 50-yard line of Miami of Ohio, their biggest rival. Like if you were to launch that rocket, it would hit right there, like perfectly aimed. And that is awesome.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're very pro Best Korea, who also is a big fan of rockets on this podcast.
Yeah. That's funny. Blake, who do you like here?
Yeah, there's no way I'm backing Liberty. Give me Toledo. I think Toledo, a solid MAC team. Jason Candle has elevated this program to consistently just contending for MAC championships. Whereas Liberty, Hugh Freeze left, and yeah, I hate Liberty. In their final game of the season, they played 3 different quarterbacks, and I don't think it was because of injury reasons. They just kind of messed around and played 3 quarterbacks because, if I remember correctly, they got blown out by New Mexico State. Yes, consistently one of the worst programs in America got blown out. I hate just the existence of Liberty. And so, yeah, there's no way I back them. They're like the anti-brand. Ty, I love Ty's stance about good branding. They are the anti-brand. Liberty, they have negative branding. They're so controversial in every single way. And if instead of watching this game, if it's a blowout, just turn on the Jerry Falwell Jr. documentary, and I promise you on Hulu, you will have a great time. It is a fantastic watch. So give me Toledo.
There's a Jerry Falwell joke in there, and I don't want to make it, but it involves watching bad things happen. Let's move on to their next game.
Watching your team lose to New Mexico State isn't the worst thing.
Yeah, that was the equivalent of what happened to Jerry Falwell Jr.
But he liked it.
Oh, he liked it. He liked watching the New Mexico version of Pistol Pete walk into town.
We need
Weirdly
like
enough, I gotta say, go ahead.
Purdue Pete, perhaps.
Pistol Pete. Ooh. Oh no, I don't want to think about this. Blake, what were you gonna say about Pistol Pete?
or no, all I was gonna say is like Jerry Falwell, original member of the Sickos committee. Just that's
elite sicko. Oh,
elite
God, he's the
sicko.
worst. All right, let's move on to our final pick of the evening. We'll resume this, of course, next week. But we have Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, in the New Orleans Bowl against the South Alabama Jaguars, who have had a resurgent season and are favored by 2.5 here in the Superdome. Blake, who do you like here? I know you love yourself some toppy. I know you love that sounded bad. You love the Hilltoppers.
Oh no, give me some toppy. Just definitely give me some toppy right now. I love this school. Like, talk about fantastic branding. Big Red. Fantastic. The quarterback, which was the kind of the concern with Western Kentucky, entered the transfer portal, but supposedly, according to Barstool Sports, is now out of it, and so I'm hoping he's going to play. I don't know how much I can trust them. They also told me that Willie Fritz was going to be the next head coach of Georgia Tech, which did not happen. But the Hilltoppers, it's the best mascot. It truly is. It makes no sense. It's a blob. I love it. I think South Alabama is a very underrated Sunbelt team. They're also one of those teams, horrible branding. Like, they're just kind of a generic logo, something you would see at a high school. And if they have a great record, and we should know about them more, but just horrible branding for a small school. So give me Sloppy Toppy.
I also hate that their initials are USA. That feels like stolen valor. Ty, who do you think wins this game?
Yeah, so again, I've revealed the methodology on this podcast, and it was branding. So let's talk about South Alabama, the Jaguars. Jaguars are just so cool. I don't get the hype. The Tiger King hype, that's a very Oklahoma thing. Tigers, I don't get it with Tigers. I just don't get the buy-in. We have the same hair, Tigers and I. So I'm allowed to denigrate them because we are inherently the same. But I just don't get the tiger buy-in, although certain species of tigers are definitely cool. Lions, I don't get the lion buy-in either. Lions, I love Lion King, one of the best movies ever made. Again, not to rile up Blake, one of the best plays ever, short of Oklahoma, of course. Certainly the best play ever. Is it better than Hamilton? I don't know. It depends on how much you're into musicals.
They redid Oklahoma, supposedly. That's maybe a topic of discussion for later.
I've seen it.
It's got like one? Super modern, like, or kind of like it's been artsy, like it's really artsy and weird.
I liked it.
Oh, Sarah, my girlfriend almost walked out of it. She was like, it was that bad.
So I'm a known Oklahoma fan of that musical. Big Oklahoma guy. Great musical. Y'all are laughing because you get it.
No, it's just the line. I'm a big Oklahoma fan coming from Bobby Howard. It's just so clippable.
Of course, and not only that, but it being the musical Oklahoma, not the university. But
yeah.
No, it was. I see why people didn't like it. I liked it. Okay. It's unique, and that's a sidebar that I will go way too long on talking about. But I can see why you wouldn't like it because it's pretty out there.
This is a great off-season pod discussion. Yes. Just like a nice 20-minute debate about why the new Oklahoma is good or bad.
Isn't it an affront to Rodgers and Hammerstein? Top 5 Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. Let's ride, baby. Ty, I'm sorry. I feel like I cut you off.
Yeah, no, but anyways, I understand some people are anti-Hamilton. I'm pro-Hamilton just because I like the idea of legalized dueling, if it's done in New Jersey, of course. But anyways, back to Jaguars. Jaguars, I think, are the coolest big cat. I think they're the coolest cats, period. Although you could make some exemptions. We're going to get airplane nerd for a second. The Grumman Aircraft Company, known for making great naval and marine aircraft, all named their airplanes after cats. I'm not necessarily an F-14 Tomcat fan, but other cats, Wildcat, Hellcat, things like that. Excellent aircraft. Won world wars with those cats. But Jaguar, best animal cat. Oklahoma City, we've got 2 Jaguars here. I looked it up. We have a female named Zia at the OKC Zoo. The OKC Zoo will also always get free ads. And then a male Jaguar named Ty, not spelled Ty, it's T-A-I, but Ty, the male Jaguar, and Zia, the female Jaguar at the OKC Zoo. Go see them, especially when they finish the renovations there. With all that being said, I have WKU in this one. I hate South Alabama. Fade them. Give me WKU plus 2.5, even though Jaguars are the coolest cats.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll say this. I think it really comes down to me if Austin Reed, Western Kentucky's, star quarterback who entered the portal and then has returned back to Western Kentucky. I don't know if he'll play in the bowl or not. He will play at Western Kentucky in the next 2 years because of an NIL deal, which apparently exists out there. And I like their odds more if he does find a way to play. If not, it makes me a little uncomfortable. But look, it's Big Red in the Big Easy. How can I go against that face? Look at him down there. He looks beautiful. He's beautiful. I can't say no. Give me Western Kentucky plus 2.5 here against South Alabama. A game that I think will be very, very good. The chat's talking about big hats. I love that. But that is all we have in terms of our bowl slate. So, guys, any final thoughts before we head out of here? Blake?
I'm ready for bowl season. I love bowl season. I'm ready to talk about, I cannot wait to talk about, I believe it'll probably be the second game of next week's slate and kind of the optics of that. I request that I start that bowl game, however the order goes, just because it is a hilarious optics and the listeners can kind of do the math. Yes, the Armed Forces Bowl. So, but yes, I'm excited for it. I think there's some great games on the slate. I think, definitely, like, this is the best time of the year. It's great having college football basically all day long, every single day, and I'm just excited for the weirdness of it. It makes the days go by quicker.
That is true. Ty, final thoughts.
There are some great matchups up ahead in the bowl pick'em and in the bowl thing. So college football is not done yet. I do have to say we are recording on December 14th right now, so I don't know when you guys are listening to this, but let's go France. We are going to win the World Cup. Certainly, I got to give shout outs to my other fandoms. Go Navy, sink Army. What's done is done. That's the past. We lost this week. That's already the past. We're already looking forward to next year, rebuilding year. Obviously, we're going to bring in a new head coach. We're retaining our play, like service academies. I know we lose some players to the transfer portal. I believe actually one of TCU's star defenders came from Navy.
But yes, that is like one of our best linebackers was a Navy transfer.
That is when they are early on. They are locked in once they get a little bit more senior and do not have the option of transferring. We have a fairly senior team that's part of the course with service academies, and I have high hopes for the midshipmen in the future. As for OU, I don't know. We're probably the next Nebraska, but
I'm feeling pretty good.
That was maybe a bit to get Bobby riled up, but
that's fair. I'm looking forward to talking about the portal coming up in the proper Schooner Pod. We took last week off, but with the bowls and everything coming up, and recruiting, all that, we're going to be doing a lot of really good OU work. Especially with Jameson and everything he has going on with the Cruton Corner. It should be good because there have been some pretty solid wins. Hopefully the biggest win is coming up soon with a certain Notre Dame commit potentially flipping. We'll see how it goes. I feel like last time we kind of tried to project that in a podcast. It went horribly wrong. Shout out David Hicks. But we'll see how it goes. Great show, guys. Love talking bowls with y'all. Always fun. And I'm just trying to soak up this last bit of college football we have before we hit the dark period of the off season. So, all right. Reminder: if y'all like these picks, or if you didn't like them and think you can do better, join our Bowl Mania. It is in the description, both on your podcast, radios, whatever app you have. and on YouTube. It's right there in the description. Just hop in. Links right there. One entry, and you win some money for free. That's pretty fun. If you're really good, win $100 or up to $100 if you get first, 25 for second, and 15 for third. So a lot on the line. Really exciting stuff. And pretty fun to mix it up with all y'all. We got a good pool going already, so definitely get in there. But it's a winnable pool. It's a winnable pool. It's not like absurdly large. So I would definitely give that a shot if you feel so inclined. All right, that's all we have for this week's Weekend Spread Bowl Pick Preview. Thank y'all so much for listening, watching, and supporting us all season long. We'll see you next week when we make some more bowl picks and talk some Sooner football. Until then, good luck out there.